visited child-headed households for our Youth Month launch. We hope to partner and work with you when we go out to these families so that we can raise awareness about what is going on and the kind of situation some of our young people are living under, in order to work with you as journalists to improve their lives. But that was just being said in passing. The National Executive Committee of the ANC Youth League was held from the 10th to the 11th of June 2017, with its first day being extended to regional chairs and secretaries across the country, convened specifically to map out the strategic approach of the ANC Youth League towards the National Policy Conference and the National Elective Conference of the African National Congress. The ANC Youth League hosted both its meeting in June, which is Youth Month. The ANC Youth League has committed its program for Youth Month towards changing the lives of child-headed households. We therefore make a clarion call that all Youth League and youth members of our society must, in the month of June, identify and make meaningful interventions that will change the lives of these households, as we started in the Youth Month launch on the 8th of June 2017. The Youth League emphasized its commitment to fight against the abuse of women and children. The Youth League will couple its Youth Month program with programs of taking a stand against women and children abuse in our society, which we started last week when we hosted our rally on Take a Stand. The NEC extended plenary based its discussions for this strategic approach primarily on the policy discussion documents prepared and released by the ANC for policy conference. In its overall assessment of these documents, the ANC Youth League is of the view that the documents attempt to move the ANC away from the left, being an organization that advances the interests of the working class and the poor, and more towards the right by seeking to embrace free market systems that favor capital. The Youth League is of the view that the ANC should remain and never waver on its quest of committing more to the working class and the poor. The ANC Youth League is of the view that the ANC we must advance for the expropriation of land without compensation. This is informed by the fact that frustrations of the poor of this country started when they were disposed of their land, which is their wealth. The ANC Youth League noted that the strategy and tactics document seems to be shy on the issue of white monopoly capital, but emphasizes monopoly capital and not white monopoly capital. The ANC Youth League believes that this is a right-wing departure from the movement's historic perspective that the system of capital accumulation and ownership in South Africa has always been fundamentally white. The Youth League does not support a system that seeks to cast away the black majority and restricting them to lowly remunerated stock of cheap labor and consumer base for the output of white monopoly-controlled economic output. We therefore declare white monopoly capital as the enemy of the national democratic revolution. On youth development, the Youth League holds firm and confirms that we will continue our charge to see all corporate and governance structures implementing 40% youth representation. The ANC Youth League will champion policies that will see to scrapping of experience as a requirement for entry-level positions, both at corporate and government level. The ANC Youth League also congratulates the newly appointed board of the NYDA. The board should ensure that it decentralizes its operations to all provinces and municipalities to increase access to its services. The ANC Youth League will further lobby for increased funding in order to fund youth entrepreneurship to build the dreams and aspirations of young people in the country. The Youth League will soon release a comprehensive critique of the policy discussion document with a specific focus on asserting youth interest as part of its contribution to the National Policy Conference of the ANC. The National Executive Committee discussed the leadership question, where it believes that the values outlined in the historical discussion document of the ANC through the eye of the NEC must be upheld. The ANC Youth League NEC contends that we need a systematic movement towards younger leadership in the total leadership contingent of the ANC, the total leadership contingent, I will emphasize. In electing the next leaders of the ANC, the assessment of leadership capabilities must stretch beyond credentials of the exile period, the underground and the broader anti-apartheid activism. While these remain important credentials in the development of leadership, the ANC also produced a competent cohort of leadership in the post-1994 period. Their track record in youth structures and border alliance movement are a track record that must be given its due recognition in determining the kind of leadership that the ANC and South Africa need. This leadership must commit itself to maximizing the unity of the ANC organizationally and politically around a common strategic program of transformation. They must demonstrate the capacity to be innovative in achieving organizational modernization, improve the ANC's technical expertise in policy development, build a strong and campaigning ANC structures, as well as to build effective monitoring and evaluation capacity at head office Luthuli House. This intent to increase both organizing and monitoring capacity of the organization to be reinforced by having 2 deputy secretary generals for both monitoring and evaluation, as well as organizing. The ANC Youth League holds a view that the size of the NEC must be reduced to 60 directly elected members in order to improve efficiency and speed in both taking and the implementation of decisions. Amongst the leadership qualities that we are looking for is an uncompromising commitment to radical economic transformation characterized by the following: the expropriation of land without compensation, free and quality education, strengthen and improve the quality of public health care, what has been termed as National Health Care Scheme. Build a state bank to finance industrial and agrarian reform, amongst others. We want leaders who are committed to leading our country towards a social order whose economic system is fully at the hands of the people as a whole. They must expand economic participation of the majority of our people by breaking the stranglehold of white monopoly capital on the systems of ownership, control, distribution of economic resources. The ANC Youth League has therefore debated on this leadership question and believes that comrades who must lead the organization are as follows. Comrade Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma is the president of the ANC Youth League. Comrade David Mabuza is the deputy president of the ANC. Comrade Ace Makashule is the secretary general of the ANC. Comrade Natim Tetwa is the national chair of the ANC. DSG for monitoring and evaluation, Comrade Jesse Duarte. DSG for organizing and campaigns, Comrade Fikile Mbalula. And the treasurer general, Comrade Maite Ngwane Mashabane. These will be the names that the ANC Youth League will grow across the country and interact with the structures of the organization and advance for them to be elected as leaders of the ANC. This we come to after having been very disciplined, knowing that the leadership question had been closed but has since been opened. We have also noted the manner in which racism and racists are treated in the DA. The DA has continued to demonstrate that it only hits racists with a slap on the wrist. Their maltreatment of Kola Barnard and recently Helen Zille is proof that even at its highest leadership ranks, the DA is a home of racists who hide behind the veil of liberalism. The deal brokerage between Maimane and the racist Zille clearly illustrates that the DA remains an agent for promotion of white supremacy. Thank you.
No, thank you. Would then invite colleagues that want to ask questions. But I hope that there will be none. So, yes, indeed, I'm proven right. Oh, just 1, 2. It's 1, 2, 3 in that order. You are number 1.
Giovanni Matani from ANCYL. My question is in regards to what Natim Tetwa has stated a few days ago stating that the government should pull off advertising over media companies that seem to be anti the government, anti-ANC. What is your feeling on this? Thank you.
Colin Gambi from ENCA. My question is around the ANC Youth League's. What's wrong, President? All right, let me start that again. The question is around the legacy of the Youth League. And my question to you would be, what would you say has been the most successful campaign that you've championed on behalf of the youth, whether it be at policy level, and what have been the outcomes of that campaign, just practically? And then, of course, the other question centers around what you have been labeled, in fact, by the mother body's senior leader, because Secretary General Madashi last week, he says that you've become henchmen for certain leaders. Surely that's got to hurt a little bit, coming from a senior leader. What do you make of these comments, and why would you be labeled in such a way? Thanks.
Thank you. My name is Moses Moy from the Inner City Gazette. I've got 3 questions, Mulando. The first one, why Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma? Why not Cyril? What qualities did the Youth League see in Nkosazana Zuma that Cyril does not have? My second question is, there is rumors of deep divisions between the president and the treasurer of the Youth League. Can you please take us into confidence? Question number 3 is, there's so much talk about radical economic transformation. What policies would the Youth League want to see Treasury change for this transformation to be possible? Thank you.
Thank you. SG, President, who's starting?
It's obvious.
Yes.
No, thank you very much. We must indicate that the NEC has not discussed the statement issued by Comrade Nat. However, we support those sentiments because, as you know, that most of you guys are reporting very negatively about our movement and the government. So we can't continue investing on you when you are not reporting fairly. We are not saying be biased towards the ANC, but I think you are overstepping. The issue, as you're asking it about what our view is on the attack from the SG and maybe from Comrade Jewel Nachitenze, because those are the 2 comrades. So it should not be many. 2 can't be many. So these comrades, we must firstly indicate that we are disappointed. We expect better from them as leaders of the African National Congress. But what we would not do is what they are doing. We would demonstrate leadership to them and engage with them and their views internally. We will not stoop low to their level. But we must also engage what informs these sudden attacks on the ANC Youth League. But we'll engage them internally, as we say. So we will not really want to delve into that at the moment. Well, you see, media, you want to divide the ANC Youth League. There is no division between the Treasurer General of the Youth League and its president. So the NEC of the ANC Youth League is united. So there's no that division. It's something that you are cooking there. So we are very much aware of the agenda you want to pursue and you will not succeed. I'll take the last question so that comrades also take some. The question says, why not Cyril and Nkosazana? You know, there's nothing special about Cyril, okay? Or about any member of the African National Congress, because the constitution of the ANC, which guides us, says that every member of the organization, including Cyril and Nkosazana, has the right to elect and to be elected to any position. So we are guided by that particular constitutional principle. And we must say that we respect comrades, including Comrade TP, Cyril Ramaphosa. However, the view of the Youth League is that Mama Nkosazana must be president now. So we're not going to gauge comrades' qualities and all of that. We're not going to enter that space. But I would say that the comrade qualifies to be elected. And our statement said what we are looking at in terms of a leadership collective that we want to elect.
Thank you very much. I think the issue that I'm going to deal with, it's mainly on the Youth League policy on treasury regarding young people. The discussion we've had as the Youth League, amongst other things, was scraping of the experience that it's needed on low-level posts within government. And I think that is informed by the fact that you'll agree that we can't take young people to schools. They come back with their degrees and masters, and when they come back, you can't employ them because you are looking for an experience. So there's a position that the Youth League is advancing, that amongst other things, where do you expect them to get an experience where, when you do not create that opportunity and a conducive environment to give them an experience? Amongst other things that we've noted that we want to call on Treasury to intervene is amongst institutions such as DINEL, ESCOM, including the space that has to do with the business on fishery and the ocean business particularly. We want young people to be featured there. There's been an outcry amongst other things that in ESCOM 90% of people who are doing business and contracts of billions, it's only white people. There's an outcry that the same thing is happening in DINEL, SAA, the very same situation. We want to call on Treasury to get in and investigate such matters and make sure that the representation of black people, it's taking place. But amongst other things, when we speak about radical economic changes, I don't think we need to be paying lip service to it. It's a position of the Youth League that we want to see a participation of black and young people particularly to be taking a center stage and being empowered around them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think they have dealt with some of the issues. I'm going to take some. There is a question, and I'm going to attend to it thoroughly, because if not attended fully, it seeks to leave an impression that says the Youth League is not a campaigning organization. It's actually an organization that has not been doing well. What can they do after this? Let's start here. Sometimes the ANC argument we won, and ultimately we're seeing steps towards the implementation of such. Can give you records of us raising those things as from last year. One of the fundamental campaigns that we have ran is that last year we went to ANCYL, we went to various media rooms, and we said, there are people who are colluding in order to rubbish the rand. Everyone said the Youth League is speaking nonsense. A year later, it is revealed through reports that have been commissioned that indeed such was happening. And that expose that we had resulted into more exposés around the issue of criminality in the financial sector. When we called for young people to march against ABSA for criminality in the financial sector, thousands and thousands of young people gathered and took a stand. And again, that was a successful campaign launched by the ANC Youth League. For years, the ANC Youth League had been seeking, even before us, they had been seeking to try and formalize the issue of youth representation in structures of the ANC. For the first time last year, building up to local government elections, 20% of young people found themselves in councils as a policy or a principled decision of the ANC that has not been there. All these things have happened within a space of about a year and 8 months, which confirm that the Youth League is a critical body of opinion. And as when we are going to this policy conference, we are continuing with our charge for 40%. We have been saying we only committed a lay-by during the National General Council. Now we are coming for the full 40%. And this 40%, when we talk about them, which is going to be the legacy that this ANC Youth League under the presidents of Colin Mayine will leave, is not 40% in government institutions or in the ANC Youth League alone. We are saying in your own boards of institutions of the companies that you are working for as media people, 40% of those boards must represent young people, because young people of this country are the future. If you are going to a private company like ABSA, you must make sure that at the top management level, you have 40% being young people, so that we build a legacy for the future. So when we talk about this 40%, which will be a legacy project, which we've already attained half of it and we are moving forward with it, is that it will make the change to the lives of young people across the country. We have clearly said we are going to the policy conference. Key to the issues that we are saying as well is that we must scrap requirements that force young people to have experience for entry-level posting. To me, that is the epitome of our struggle going to this policy conference. And that will ultimately translate to government. When one young person says, I've been called into an entry-level post in 5 years from now, and they say there is no experience requirement, we will say we have done very well. How do you expect young people who are fresh from institutions of higher learning to have experience? It is impossible. We are also saying, going to this policy conference, this thing of interns that are not absorbed into the system is not working for young people. It is recycling young people to actually come in for 12 months, work as an intern. After 12 months, you no longer have a job. You must go back home. They take another intern. We are pushing for policies that will force the absorption of young people, not only in government, but in the whole of the private sector and in the whole of working areas. Part of the things that we are looking for, and that's what we committed, because we must not live here thinking that we did not pay due diligence. Last year, we called a press briefing where we presented what we said was a hypnosis analysis of the problems and challenges that are facing the ANC. A lot of people did not pay attention. That is where we even raised the issue of the 2 DSGs that must be available for the ANC in order for it to meet its challenges. In that particular document, we detail what are the issues and considerations for leadership moving forward. The issue of history of struggle, the principle of regeneration of the ANC. We looked in terms of comrades who have a rich history of struggle, not only before 1994, but even post-1994, a history of struggle in a sense of making a change, people who have consistently held forts of the ANC and made sure that the ANC performs well in terms of electoral performance. We want comrades who are gonna be able to advocate for radical economic transformation with the pillars which are critical that we have said. People who will commit to the quest of implementation of free education. People who will commit and buy to our program of economic freedom in our lifetime. So those are the considerations that we have put together. We have said that we'll be issuing within the next couple of days a document detailing all our policy proposals going to the policy conference of the ANC. I think I have dealt with some of the issues. If there are some that are left, I think you will indicate.
I'm sure we are great that we are now done for today. I know that...
you want to come again?
All right, let's get, before there is a rebellion, let's get those that want to ask questions. And this is just the last set of questions. So it's 2. Number 1, number 2. So people, you are number 1. So people must not be provoked after responses were done now.
Okay, thank you very much. Oli again from ENCA. You mentioned that the campaign against ANCYL has been one of the campaigns that you've championed.
So some sides will take them. No, comrades, Holly, when ESCOM took a decision they took with regard to people doing business with them and saying that 51% should be South Africans, we must talk about it and congratulate them. Now, it's not Marcella Koko, it's ESCOM. And at the point was the acting GCE. So we're congratulating the decision of ESCOM under his leadership. Now the position that is under now is something else. Should people listen to the ANC Youth League? I'm sure all of us want to respond to it. But before we respond to it, it should be what informs the question called and where do you come from? But I think we have not failed in our quest of advancing interests of young people. And we still believe that we remain the biggest youth movement in the country, and young people do listen to us. But we're alive to challenges that there are those who are very critical of the ANC, and that is allowed. We can't expect that everybody must sing praises of the African National Congress. Criticism is acceptable. So everybody has his or her own views about the Youth League. But we believe that we are on the right path and people should continue to listen to us and be critical of ourselves. Yeah, let me leave this others.
Let me respond to partially what the President was addressing. Firstly, yes, indeed, KZN did suggest that cloud must be cabinet or NEC of the ANC is subsequently dismissed. And the narrative that from where I was sitting is that it seems as if we are not doing things that are for the majority of the youth and as the Youth League, which would dismiss. Part of the things that we should not be selective about is that before it became popular through the Fees Must Fall, the Youth League came out of its Congress and said that there must be free education. And I'm not too sure whether free education was meant for members of the Youth League, meant for the youth of South Africa. The other thing that we must address is the fact that when we speak about a good person, it does not suggest that that person has never done anything wrong. Because if we think like that, that's a problem. But you don't, by virtue of having a person who has done something wrong, then negate and suggest that that person is not doing positive things. I think that's the issue that we must be very clear on. Whether people should listen to us or not, really it is something else. All we understand and all that we know as the African National Congress Youth League is that many of the things we say find expression in the youth of South Africa. Whether you agree with us on that or you don't agree, it's something else. But that, from where we're sitting, we know it as a matter of fact that youth of South Africa is listening to the African National Congress Youth League leadership, particularly this leadership. SG, I'm not too sure whether we want to deal with the... Oh, DSG.
Thanks very much, Comrade Mlondi, for the opportunity. I think, let me respond on the allegation of some of us having to be implicated on the recent spat around the Gupta emails. I think you need to be clear and honest to yourselves as the people of the media, because we know what this the Gupta emails agenda seeks to achieve, and we need to be alive to those realities as members of society and ourselves as the ANC and the ANC Youth League, because those emails are not innocent. They are driving a particular agenda and a particular narrative that seeks to unseat the ANC from power. So, comrades, I think whoever who has got evidence of whatsoever corruption activities that had occurred, those people must therefore approach law enforcement agencies. For everyone who's alleged to have been corrupt, for them to go and state their case in those court of laws and also in those law enforcement agencies. We are not a banana republic. We have processes of dealing with criminal activities in this country. So whoever who has got evidence against Colin Maina or against whoever who's in government or who's a member of society in South Africa, they are free to go and approach law enforcement agencies and state their cases there. And whoever who's accused, they can go and equally prove themselves before the court of law. I think let's respect the constitution of this country. It stipulates clearly processes that needs to be followed as and when this kind of incidences occurs. But I'm emphasizing on the fact that these emails are not innocent. And ourselves as members of society, we should not be drawn in between all those agendas that are being driven somewhere along the media houses and also in the corners of the ANC leadership. Thank you very much.
The first thing I want to deal with is that I don't think we're surprised with the decision that has been taken against Mr. Hlaudi Mtsweni, because I can tell you now that we have made an assessment that anything that has to do with leaders of the ANC or anyone deployed by the ANC that has to go to court, it comes negatively. So we have made an assessment that courts on their own are also, they've also taken a decision to be enemies of the revolution. So I don't think you on your own where you're sitting, you have not also analyzed that anything that has to do with the ANC definitely we lose this day and age in court. Not primarily because we are wrong, because we also believe that there's a certain decision that has been made out there. And part of people who are participating in that, it's media, which of course I want to agree fully with what was said by Comrade Nati Nyambos about the behavior of the media in this country. That day by day, part of its role, it's to make sure that it deepens the crisis that is within the ANC. The Gupta email, for me, I think that on its own, it's those who have been able to get those emails illegally, because it's illegally to do so. It's a thuggerish behavior to get into my emails without permission. And I think a step also need to be taken around that. There must be radical steps that are taken about people who obtain information illegally. It's like those who behave like intelligence secretly, who listen to people's phones. It's very illegal when you do that without obtaining any court order that says you must be able to do that. So I think there must be a step also that is taken, and we are not here, we must be very clear to defend the Guptas. And hence we're not going to entertain any question regarding the Guptas. We are here to defend the African National Congress and our organization, because we believe in it and our people still believe in it. But we believe everything that has been done so far, even in the media, it's got everything to do with deepening the crisis in the country and in the ANC and making sure that it tarnishes the image of the ANC. Thank you very much.
See, there's one thing that we must respond to quite clearly. The problem with ENCA is that you come at every platform of the ANC either to try and set and record members of the ANC arguing against each other. If not, you come to media platforms to portray a negative image of the ANC. If not, you are out there fishing for stories that talk negatively about the ANC. If not, you are interviewing branches of the ANC and asking them about the leadership question, because you have become a propaganda machinery that seeks to discredit the ANC. No matter what answer you are given or how correct it is, you will encode it and decode it and end up sending something that you want to say out there. And I'm saying this fully, boldly, because when we go to interventions, when we are doing some of this work that is making a change in the lives of our people, we are not there. You don't come. When we launched the responsible parenting, you were not there. You decided not to come. Just last week, when we went to West Rand to deal with the issue of child-headed households, you were not there. The issue of 40%, as I was telling you even right here and now, that it must translate to even cooperate, you decided not to listen, and then you decoded and ended up saying it is on councils. We're not talking about councils here. We're talking about leadership in the corporate sense, that it must be on policy. It must be included in terms of good corporate governance, that there must be 40% young people in these institutions. But because you came here with a certain agenda and you want to live with that agenda, then it's fine. Even if you did not come here, you could have just stayed in your studios, looked at Facebook, recorded that, and then went out public with that. We must be very factual here. We are now, as the ANC Youth League, going to go on the offensive. These people who've been attacking the ANC with lies that are not proven, and they just say things and they think they are going to fly, it's going to come to a stop now. We are going to take action against people. We'll start with the Sunday Times. We said it last week. The Sunday Times goes and records emails of whatever, where they took them, wherever. We're not verified about those emails, whether they were even legally obtained or whatever the case is. Nobody even asks about credibility of those emails. You see articles in the newspaper. Who verified those things? But because people and the media in South Africa is not being held accountable, it thinks it can do anyhow. And such must come to a stop. People who speak ill of the ANC without funded facts will take them head on and will expose them and will make sure that they are seen for who they are. I thought I should start there. We've talked about the issue of 40%. We have said that money that was supposed to come back from ABSA is money that should have been used for youth development and youth entrepreneurship in order to service young people of this country. That money must come back and help young people. That is why we launched that campaign. When the rand falls as a result of manipulation, it is not all people only who are affected, but also young people are affected. Is that an agenda for ANC Youth League and ANC members alone? No, it is an agenda that seeks to assist the whole country. When we are saying the NYDA must be decentralized for it to operate in local municipalities, which is something surely we're gonna see happening, is that an agenda for ANC Youth League or ANC alone? No, it is an agenda and an intervention that seeks to assist all young people in the country. When the ANC Youth League says we must have a state-owned bank that invests in the future and youth entrepreneurship for young people of this country, is that an ANC Youth League agenda or an ANC agenda? No, it is an agenda meant to assist all the young people of this country. And you have never had any other youth formation raising such issues. When we say free education, is it free education for ANC and ANC Youth League cronies? No, it's not. It's for the benefit of the whole young people of South Africa, particularly the millions that are sitting in townships not being employed. Again, we must say, we continue to advance the interests of young people. We are happy with what we have attained, and we will not be deterred by those who will focus on the negative. We don't need praise singers, but at least we sleep better at night knowing that we have made a change in the pupils of this country. Thank you.
You can come back.
Want to open a dialogue?
No, thank you.
Give them the last chance.
I think.
Give them the last chance.
Oh, okay.
It's boiling.
Okay. No. We will, but we must just be cautious not to create a dialogue out of a media briefing. We must just be very cautious, but we'll allow using Rule 4.2, where the President exercises authority upon many of us. So because he has instructed me that you are number one, so you are number one, I want to check whether there is anyone who wants to raise a question. No, you are number one, number two, number three.
Oh, some area here.
We are fine. Okay, let's make you number 4 to ask the question again. Thank you. Number 1, Babunga.
Tony again, thank you. I think you are
It's fine. All right. No, you come here now to run out. No, not only, I'm happy that you have raised your question, the real question that you came here for, the slate issue. I would have been very surprised if you have left here without having spoken to that issue. Look, we don't need, what we've said is that the ANC Youth League, when it takes decisions, it does not need to consult with anybody. It's a decision of the ANC Youth League. What we then, the responsibility that we have outside the National Executive Committee is to engage everybody, including the Women's League, MKMV, everybody. So that's what we must do. And show them where we come from, why we believe that there must be a second DSG. And as the SG has said, it's not something new that we thought about yesterday for expediency or over the weekend. We have said it last year already. So we'll engage everybody, including the ANC Women's League. The issue is that relates to the reports, with some comrades agreeing that the issues that are raised in the report. Now, Ayanda Klauder says, yes, I did not disclose that I went to Dubai or wherever she went to. Does that suggest that she's corrupt? Because the narrative that you are painting in the media is that you are corrupt, and the emails seeks to paint the ANC and the government as corrupt. Like Ella Kaunda, as you say, he says some of the things are indeed true. So what about, why are you not asking about those that are not true?
Thanks. We are not presenting a slate. This is not a slate. And that's where I'm gonna start. You see, I said, we're no longer gonna take it now that people just come and say things. A slate is a very shallow, something that will stand there in a board and with names on it. Then it's a slate. Something that does not come out of thought. These are leadership propositions of the ANC Youth League. And when you refer to them, you must not refer them as a slate of the ANC Youth League. It is leadership propositions of the ANC Youth League. If you want a short word for it, you can call it the LPAs. The LPs, what leadership propositions, LPs. Then at least you get the sense that there was a lot of thought put into it. Almost 1.5 years thought put into this. So it's not that of a slate. It comes from the National Executive Committee, informed also by regional chairs and secretaries coming from throughout the country, who have sat and really put some thought into it. Some of them came from their regional general councils, where they called branches to engage on this particular issue. So it was quite a thorough process that we engaged on in order to come to the level we are in today. The next step is that we are going to go and have bilaterals, and particularly those bilaterals involve the Women's League. It involves various structures of the organization to say these are the propositions that the Youth League is coming up with. Now that is part of the reason why it is not a slate. 2, I have not heard the ANC Youth League giving a full proposition, and that is why we are going to engage with them. It's part of fostering unity within the organization. So it's not a slate, Koli. And on the issue of the Women's League, we are going to engage with the Women's League. We have secured the meeting with them. We're just discussing just upstairs now that we are meeting them on Monday to have an engagement on the broader variety of issues. There is an agenda. There is an agenda to discredit the ANC. the attacks against President Zuma are not only directed at him or his persona, but they are directed at creating an image of a failed ANC that has not done anything except brought destruction in this country. And if that narrative continues to be told through media, it becomes true. Part of the mastery that has been mastered by this agenda is that it knows that it seeks no proof or evidence, so long as it is repeatedly told. One asks a person, because we are talking to the whole country, will it be fair that as a citizen of this country, if your neighbor accuses you of doing something wrong, and then there is no need for you to go to court to be proved wrong or right, but immediately declared there and there as a wrongdoer, and then you must be ill-treated by society? That is why the ANC-led democratic dispensation said there must be courts. Go to these courts. And these courts, they find you guilty or whatever the case may be. There's been an outcry for a long time where criminals are sent to court, the following day they are released. Where courts do not exercise diligence. Today you are told that there is a woman who has been beaten up by a lover, the very same lover the woman took to court in a couple of weeks ago. The court let go of that person. You don't raise that there is something wrong there that we need to look to. Obviously, there are credibility issues that we need to look into, because these are individuals. We used to say, when you are sober as a judge. But one of the judges is caught having smashed through a door of a person, the judge is drunk. You can't even say today sober as a judge. That person the following day is going to go to court and say, no, you are very wrong, Mr. Nzuza. Are you not going to raise credibility? Obviously, we must raise credibility issues. That is why even when you deal with the issue of state capture, you must realize that in the state, there are arms of the state. Part of the things that we have to look to also is the judiciary, because you can't capture the state without capturing the judiciary. So we must broaden that particular scope so that we look at all institutions of the state if they are not captured. So that is our response to some of those issues. I think the question that was not answered, maybe if you can just, is it answered now?
Did you discuss the Gupta?
No, we don't discuss rumors. Yes, we don't discuss. The National Executive Committee of the Youth League discussing a family. There are serious issues affecting young people for us to be busy sitting and discussing Guptas.
Thank you very much. I think this would bring us to the end of our briefing. If you still want to ask questions, I'm sure different media houses are allowed to interact with the leadership outside of the briefing for further clarification. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
SG, where is SG?
What do you want?